to know. All right. Hello. Are we in the shot? We're good?
Good.
I'll wait till are you officially recording?
I am.
Alrighty.
Now.
I have a book of questions for you.
Perfect. I've got a book of answers.
An entire book
for you.
of questions for you. You're gonna love it. All right. Also, okay, so are we ready?
Yeah.
We're recording. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Laura and Rachel Talk Show. I'm with my guest, Andrew Ameduri. Hi, Andrew.
How's it going?
I'm good. It's really good to be here. You like the new digs?
I love it. I love it.
Me too. They fit my vibe.
I know the blue matches my purple pants and
Yes.
the blue on my shoes.
It's a good theme for us.
We're all color coordinated. You got the sparkles
I
on?
do. Yeah, perfect. Andrew, why don't you tell our viewers how they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Andrew Ameduri. The last part is spelled A, M as in Mary, E-D-U-R-I. And that is the best place to find me. I mean, I've got my podcast, which is called Founder Focus. That's on Instagram at Founder Focus. You can also find it on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeart Radio podcasts. Basically, wherever you can find podcasts, you can find it. Just type in Founder Focus. And that podcast is centered around business building, where I sit down with different people who've launched their own companies. It's a great tool for anyone who's looking to start their own business by learning from people who've actually done it and succeeded.
Great.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, one of the things you mentioned about yourself before the show is that you wanted everyone to know about your love of adventure and storytelling.
Yes.
Because I know you're a very well-traveled person. You've been, do you know how many countries you've been to?
27?
27.
Yeah.
Very cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Any in particular that were your favorite?
All right, I'm biased. So
Okay.
when I was 17, most people are going into their senior year of high school.
Sure.
I did not learn well in the classroom, and we
Same.
had a family friend living in Japan who was starting an office there to build out solar farms. And he went, "Hey, do you know where I can find American labor at Chinese prices, but in Japan? Like any college dropouts?" And I'm like, "Oh, what do you need to do to like get over there? Like, what are the prereqs?" He goes, "Underpaid, overworked, understand business." I'm like, "Would you take a high school dropout?" And my parents, being freaking awesome, went, "Yeah, just get your GED." So I moved to Japan at 17. And so Japan, when people go internationally, where do you love? Japan is like literally my second home. I can walk around Tokyo better than downtown Phoenix.
Oh, that's so cool. How long did you live there?
A little over 3 years.
Nice.
But so internationally, places I've been that I really love and I recommend to everyone: Japan.
Mm-hmm.
If you're big into nature, Mongolia.
Oh, okay.
Outside of Ulaanbaatar, their capital, it's the Wild West. In fact, most of the rest of the country you can only access via vans with like jacked up 33-inch tires, long travel suspension, or horseback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Italy because it's Italy, and also my dad's side of the family is from Italy.
Same, yeah.
Right?
That's why we get along.
Exactly. It's in our blood.
Yes.
Where else? What other really unique places? I really like the Caribbean, but like just because the people.
They're very sweet.
The island
Caribbean.
vibe is just like, you're welcome. Come in. Your
They're
family.
always smiling and happy. They're the happiest
Always.
people. And I'm like, are they paying you to smile like this? Because I just got off a cruise ship. What's
right.
happening? Yeah.
No, but like I've traveled off the beaten path in the Caribbean a bit. And I can tell you that it's a different type of smile there because they're not paid by the cruise tours. No.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And then rounding it out, I always say I've got 5 favorites, and then I swear they change every single time.
Of course.
But I'm a big fan of 3 countries ran through my head. I really like Turkey.
Oh, okay.
Istanbul is a really neat place of kind of east meets west.
Okay.
And the people there are fun. The culture is rich, and it's one of the most unique kind of like, again, east meets west clashes I've ever seen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you say East meets West, in what way? Like with the food, with the entertainment, the architecture? Like where did you notice that?
I noticed it in the architecture. Now, part of
Okay.
that may be, if you go back in time where everyone took turns conquering each other,
Sure.
and the back and forth, But I really noticed it there. Food, entertainment-wise, definitely more Eastern instead of Western. But it's just a lovely place to be. Istanbul is a lovely city to explore. I'm looking forward to going back there someday.
That sounds cool. How were the people? Are they pretty social? Because I'm sure you stick out like tourists.
Oh yeah.
Kind of vibe, right?
Oh yeah. Well, when I got some scruff, I actually fit in pretty well.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was funny. I got to know this local who at first I'm like, oh, he's trying to grind me for $1 because I'm a tourist.
Sure.
But the more we got to know him, he was actually just
socializing.
They're
like, are you a street performer?
Right. I'm like,
so used to that here. We're like, what?
I'm like checking my wallets. I'm like,
sure.
And he was just wonderful. I, for the life of me, cannot remember his name. Got a picture with him.
Nice.
But he showed us around. He showed us kind of underground in like the catacomb areas. Showed us, Turkish coffee, which I had way too many. Couldn't blink for at least 7 hours.
Oh wow!
It's so thick. It's like it
like
feels
super caffeinated.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Is it really bitter? If it's gonna be that strong.
Yeah, it was bitter.
Okay. Does it taste more like coffee or espresso?
More like a thick espresso. Now I've heard people making Turkish coffee sweet, but that was the place he took us to was not my experience. No.
So I wouldn't have loved it.
No, it was not something out of Starbucks.
Okay. Even that I struggle because I don't know what they do to their beans. Do they intentionally burn their beans?
They do.
I can't get down with the burnt beans, man.
I wonder if that's their signature. They're like, wait, everyone's figured it out, so we just have to burn ours. I mean, because some publicity is better than none.
I don't know. It tastes to me like. Do you remember if you forgot the coffee maker and left it on too long?
Yep.
That's what it tastes like to me.
Yeah, or you're at your grandparents' house and they're like, oh, this coffee's fresh. And it's like from 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Yeah, or like diners, like late night diners, or you go to study or something, it's like burning all night.
It gives you the great memories, but it's like not something you seek out, right?
No, it's not my favorite. Okay, so Turkish coffee. I'll have to try that. I wonder if there are probably some places here we could probably find like a Turkish like, coffee lounge or something. It's gotta be a thing. Because once you have people move into a different country, I'm sure they bring some of their culture with them.
And that's the easiest thing to do too.
My point is that I hope we can find it here.
I bet we can.
And then we Americanize everything, so there's going to be sugar in it, and I like it much more.
Right, and then it'll actually be a good time.
Yeah, like how we ruined, did we ruin orange chicken? Is orange chicken a thing elsewhere?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You would know more than I would know. Because I've had it here.
Let's just say when I'm in China, I'm not walking around going, oh, Panda Express, orange chicken?
Right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, China, their food is a trip.
I bet.
Yeah.
What does communism taste like?
It tastes like freedom masked as taxes.
Okay. Perfect time for water sip.
Right?
That's funny. Huh. Well, okay. And that's what I was going to ask you too for Japan.
Yeah.
This is just a silly question. I hate to be on like a food rant.
No, go for it.
That's like, I haven't been there yet.
Yeah.
What do you eat for breakfast there? Because everything seems so seafood based, and I'm not in the mood for that first thing in the morning.
Yeah. So the Japanese are not huge on breakfast.
Okay. So they skip it. That makes sense.
Well, a lot of my Japanese friends that I know would have like natto, which is like the stinky beans.
Okay.
Like natto and rice.
I'd skip that too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Maybe
I have the
occasionally.
Turkish coffee elsewhere, and
Right, go find the one Turkish coffee place in Tokyo.
Yeah, exactly.
And Japan is unique. It's one of the most homogeneous cultures. It hasn't. They're welcoming to foreigners, but also not a lot of foreigners move there, and it's quite a process to move there. And so their culture is super well preserved. And that's
not a bad thing though.
It's not. But that being said, there is some of the Western food culture creeping in. Like I was over there.
McDonald's, everyone's gaining weight.
Literally, I was over there in March, and I was staying with a friend in Kawasaki, and I was at his station, and I'm walking through, and he's like, "Yeah, let's grab McDonald's," and I'm like, "Bro, what?"
Well, I'm out of town. I don't need that.
Now he's from Hong Kong, and I'm like, but still, I look over and the McDonald's is packed, and it's like 7 a.m. and I'm just like,
It's
oh,
not
no.
good here. Do they make it out of other things there?
Okay, McDonald's in Japan is better than McDonald's here.
Do they use like real meat?
I don't know if
It's a
any
great
of
start.
it's real. Like, I don't know. Here's the funny thing. I don't even
Chicken
know.
nugget paste.
It's made with care.
It's
made with care.
It's made with love.
Japanese are so focused on their craft, and when I say their craft, I mean everything from whether they're making food or whether they're packaging an item you just purchased or
Okay.
whether they're cleaning. They're so focused.
They're much
on
nicer
doing,
than here.
right? They're way nicer.
It's like Utah versus New York City is how I can
Oh
do
my
a
gosh.
local comparison.
That is the perfect comparison. But
Right?
plus Mormons. No, I'm kidding.
Right? Yeah. That's
Um,
cool.
but their craft is so, everything is done with this focus on perfection
Mm-hmm.
that it somehow is translated over to McDonald's. Because I did have McDonald's when I was there once.
Huh.
I'm not that American.
Right.
A little bit.
But if someone else asked you to go, so
Yes,
Fair game.
exactly.
so
And
you were just being a good guest.
they had the apple pie. They
Oh,
had
okay.
apple pie, and you know what? It was incredible.
You're like, this tastes different than it
Right?
does back
Like,
home.
is this an apple? This wasn't made in a lab?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, real
That's really
stuff.
cool. What, when you're in Japan, what is their entertainment like? 'Cause I know that they're more advanced technology-wise from what it appears. So I'm sure they have a lot of the same things, pretty much all the same things, but better, I'm guessing. But are they into like robots and stuff? Like what do they have going on over there?
It's funny, that's the persona of Japan.
Sure.
But their technology is quite advanced in some areas, and then I remember, for example, when I was working with the solar farms,
Mm-hmm.
some people would be like, yeah, we only have fax machines, and I'm like, this was back from 2014 to 2017, that's when I lived there, and
Still
I'm
doing
like,
fax machines.
I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
what? And it's like local government offices, yeah, we only have a fax machine. I'm like,
As opposed to email?
yeah,
No.
yep. And so
That's
the
weird.
first time I heard that, I thought it was a joke, because I'm going, all right, everything's, technologically advanced,
That's
flying
so
cars,
strange.
robots, no human interaction because AI,
But we're using a fax.
right?
That's so bizarre. It reminds me of my Uncle Ronnie. I've got this one older uncle, and
Yeah.
he does not answer voicemails. He will not look at a text. He doesn't answer the phone. He wants you to fax him.
Okay, you know what?
It's a strange dude, but
So
he's set in his
Japan
ways.
has Uncle Ronnie's,
Yes.
plucked throughout the whole country.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that.
Now
Okay.
that being said, they do have some really neat things. Like they had a robot cafe they have robot cafes all over where these little robots come and serve you.
Really?
It's more of like
Oh,
a
fun.
novelty item, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That sounds
For entertainment over there, like if I was going out with friends, we go see a movie. If you want to get real traditional, you go see a kabuki show, which is the traditional Japanese theater, but they
Yes.
have masks.
Okay.
I had never seen a full proper kabuki show though until last March when I was back for a friend's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. It was long, it was like 3.5 hours long,
Really?
and they were using old school Japanese, so I understood very little of what they were
Okay.
saying, but the performances and the storytelling, it's like picture theater, it's theater, but I can't compare it to anything else. It's so unique.
Is it more where they're demonstrating everything as opposed to spoken
There's speaking,
dialogue?
but there's dialogue, but the demonstrations are so
Right.
rich.
Like they're acting it out more than
They
what we
are.
do. Right?
They are.
We do a lot of standing here and doing a monologue, and now I stand over there by this kitchen. Now I do a monologue. It's
Exactly. But
yeah.
in the motions and the steps, big steps, little
so
steps.
kind of like theater meets the ballet.
Yes,
but not dancing.
theater meets ballet without dancing.
Cool.
And the costume designs are so
I
much
bet.
fun.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and this is probably a very naive question. Do they still have geishas performing as part of the culture? Is that still an active thing? I know
Yeah.
that was historically a big thing.
Yeah, it's still an active thing. I mean, it's not as common nowadays, but
Okay.
there's definitely still a strong culture of that. Yeah.
Is it for the same purposes? Is it like this is the new hot single lady in town kind of thing, or is it more like
No.
this is our star performer in
This
the
is
city?
our star
kind of thing?
performer in the
That's
city.
nicer. I
Yeah.
like that better.
Right,
Okay.
right. It's
Yeah.
not as much human trafficking. It's more so
Yes.
just,
That's the thing. How do I
performer.
tiptoe around this? 'Cause,
I'll just blaze right through it. Yeah.
Okay, so it's more performance art and less Memoirs of a Geisha. I like that.
Exactly.
Very
Very
good.
much so.
That's
yeah.
cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm better with that. And then anything exciting you did when you were in Italy? I mean, besides eating everything, I'm sure everything is amazing there.
Yeah. So I've been to Italy a few times. The
Cool.
last time I was there, I backpacked through northern Italy down just a little bit of southern Italy.
Backpack meaning you're a hostel kind of guy?
That trip I was.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
But Italy, I guess maybe that's the one place you can handle a weird guy in your bathroom, right?
Oh yeah. There were some wild events.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do tell.
All right. Well,
I'm a
which
comedian.
one?
I can take it.
So there was one night. So
Let's go off script.
off script. First hostel. We show up. We're in northern Italy. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of the town. Found this hostel that was picture like a farm on top of a hill overlooking vineyards.
Oh, that sounds pretty.
It looked like something out of a Julia Child's book. Like it was
Love it.
unreal. So we go there, tons of wonderful people, all different countries, and we decide to pool all of our money together. We ended up with like 50 euros between 20 of us, and we went shopping for wine.
Okay.
And now wine in Italy, you're going, oh, it's all good. Fun fact, boxed wine is still boxed wine. It doesn't matter what country
Fun
you're
fact, not as good.
in. No. So
Do they have Boone's Farm?
Boone's Farm.
Do they
I'm
import
not
that from here?
familiar.
Oh, that is the cheapest wine we make in the United States. It was a joke.
Well, we definitely
It's
found
like
the
blue.
we definitely found the equivalent of that there. So we
Oh.
started with the classy 1 to 3 euro bottles of wine.
Okay, sure.
And like I'm not a big drinker, so like I had a glass or two, and I'm looking around, and I forgot how much some of our European friends can drink. And
They were born drinking.
oh,
Okay.
you literally came
In a
out of the
bottle?
womb. It's like here you go.
Well, they started like 5 there.
Exactly.
That's why they're little people. Aren't they smaller?
You
It
know
stunts
what?
the
That
growth.
would make sense. Yeah, it stunts their growth, but it's more fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I could lose an inch or two and be happier, and that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So everyone's having drinks. We're having a good time. We're talking, and
Mhm.
there's this one crazy Italian guy,
Perfect.
and we realize he's like, I kid you not, 5 boxes / bottles in
Oh,
on his own.
wow.
And we're all looking at him like, what?
Is he part of your group?
I mean,
Did you pick up a stray?
in a hostel that like he was part of the group, but like in a hostel, he was in the hostel. But apparently he'd been living there for 3 months, traveling the country, studying different languages, which I'm scratching my head at. I'm like, you're Italian and you said you were studying different languages. Why are you still in Italy? So
Does he talk to himself a lot?
once in a while, it could, yeah.
I called
It
it.
was, yeah.
Okay.
And so the night goes on, and some people head to bed, and next thing you know, like there's this really sweet couple from Finland, and they're with their kids, and they've got this built out camper van, and next thing you know, like you hear shouting, and let's just say some people thought that was where they were supposed to go to bed in their camper. Like they were so far blitzed, they were like, nope, this is where I'm supposed to be sleeping.
People were trying to crash in the family camper?
Oh yeah.
Was it the weird Italian guy?
I honestly don't know.
I'm gonna say yes for the
But
purpose of the story.
This is the strangest part. The next morning, this strange Italian guy woke up and he left.
Okay.
And we weren't sure where he went. And one of my
But he'd been there for 3 months.
Yeah, no, he just
Did
wasn't.
he steal your stuff?
He wasn't at the hostel, but his stuff was still there. And one of the people working at the hostel walks out and goes, "There's blood on his sheets."
Oh!
And we're all like,
Super weird Italian guy.
"Okay."
Okay.
Well, he comes back later smoking a cigarette and must have had the typical Italian breakfast of espresso and a cig. Walks back in, and we're just like, and I remember the lady who worked there we found blood on your bed, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." And we're like, "What?" And he's like, "Look, sometimes things happen."
What?
And and the girl working there was a Brit, and he's like saying this all in English, which and we're like wondering if there's like any translation issue. To this day, none of us know why there was blood all over.
Like how much blood are we talking about? Did you see it?
No, but she was like scarred.
Okay, that's not normal.
No.
And did he have any friends with him? Do you remember seeing anybody?
No friends. He
I'm guessing he
literally
didn't have a lot of friends. Okay.
Well, he was staying at the hostel. He had been there for like 3 months, and
That's
just
so
on his own.
Weird.
Yeah. But he
Creepy.
could speak a bunch of different languages. I don't know what he was talking
Yeah,
about.
like murder in 16 languages.
Exactly.
Wow. So it was like The Shining.
100%. The
So
Shining.
the movie Hostel must have been inspired.
Inspired by a hostel.
Yeah, that's really scary.
That trip is also where I learned how to ride a moped. But I learned
how manly of you.
Right?
Was
Very
it
manly.
mint green or pink?
It was mint green. And it was.
Guess.
Here's the wild thing. I gave him my U.S. license because I didn't have an international license, and they go, "Oh, you're over 18," and I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "We'll give you the 250cc scooter." I'm like,
okay.
Right, I'm meeting my Italian wife. I mean, like, she's gonna see that and be like, "That's not a Vespa. That's a high-powered motorcycle in mint green."
Ooh. Did you grow out like a thin pencil mustache?
I did the moment I got on, just.
Hot.
Now, exactly. So the problem was the town we were in, all the power was out. None of the traffic lights worked. Now
Who needs traffic lights?
Italians don't recognize them even when they're working. They definitely don't recognize them when they aren't working.
So everyone just goes.
Yeah,
so I got like India.
I personally got rear-ended twice by a car, same car, but it's Italy, so no one does anything. I look back and the guy's just looking at me like nothing happened.
Wow.
And then
Did you get your deposit back?
Well, thankfully the bike was so dinged up they couldn't tell the difference. I rear-ended 3 other people, twice the same city bus, because I'm trying to figure out how a moped works. Thankfully, it wasn't a manual.
So the lesson was not included in the rental. They're like, here you go.
Right?
Godspeed.
Literally, nothing else. Didn't even ask if I had driven one before. And my friend Paul from Austria was with me. We ran into our other friend
you
Will.
You learned in the Bahamas when you were down there.
Exactly. And I just swam everywhere. Horseback, stallion.
Yeah. So you could do that in Italy, though. I feel like you can ride a pony through Rome.
You could, but you can't ride one up the Amalfi Coast.
Oh.
Because that's where we took our mopeds.
Okay.
And so we've got people blazing by in Ferraris and Porsches and, Fiats, like the normal people. And then you just got me, my friend Paul, and my friend Will on our little mopeds.
Individually. So you
Will and Paul were riding together because Paul took a look at my moped and looked at me and went, "You've never driven one of these before." And I said, "No, I have not."
He's like, "Well, best of luck to you."
Yeah, he's like, "I value my life. Let us go in front." I'm like, "Okay, sounds good."
Wow.
But I learned
how
to drive a moped in an Italian town. I think it was Salerno, Sorrento, one of the S towns, with all the power out up the Amalfi Coast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A lot of close calls.
A lot of close calls, a lot of crashes, but it's Italy, it's normal.
Oh, that's so interesting. Wow, great trip. Have you been to Venice?
I have.
How was it? Besides damp?
Hot take, Venice is very overrated.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard certain months can be rather stinky. Is that true? Did you go at a bad time?
I've been to Venice twice. The first time I went, the entire town was flooded. They'd had a huge...
Like more than usual?
Like more than usual.
Okay.
Like, you're walking along, you're like, I'm not supposed to be in the canals, but I'm in the canal.
Like, why am I in water suddenly?
Exactly.
I was going to the library.
it had completely flooded. The hotel we were in, the first floor had a foot or two of water in.
Does this happen commonly there?
Yeah.
So do they just not have things on the first floor in most buildings, or how?
No, they've got things.
Taller tables. Like, what do they do?
Everything seems normal. I think it's the Italian way of like, no, it is what it is.
So there has to be a black mold problem out there.
I guarantee you. Maybe that's where I got my asthma, because the first time I was there, I was a kid. I was like 6 or 7.
Oh yeah.
I remember, and that's when it was flooded. It's one of my earliest memories. And I remember walking along.
Came back with the black lung.
Yep. And I remember asking my mom, "Mom, are there fish in here?" And she goes, "Nope," as she sees a rat swim by.
Okay.
Last time I was in Venice, it confirmed, though, Venice is overrated. It's very fun for maybe half of a day, and then you're like, all right, I've seen the canals, it's just so packed with people.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, okay. So the little areas, and there's probably limited because you're going from narrow sidewalks to boats, right?
Exactly. Narrow sidewalk to occasional boat to narrow sidewalk. Mm-hmm. But
I wanted to go for Carnival where they have the masquerades.
Yeah.
And
and maybe that would be worth it, but I would recommend if people are going to Italy, don't make Venice a day trip. park yourself somewhere else, or hit it on the way, you know, if you're headed down
Don't
south.
stay because you're gonna be miserable.
No, miserable is not the right word. There's just so many other wonderful parts of Italy to explore.
Like Tuscany looks great.
Florence.
Florence, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't been yet. I really want to go.
Florence is the most walkable city in Italy, in my opinion.
Nice.
Every corner.
Less rats.
Less rats. Actually debatable.
I don't do well with rodents of any kind.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually become a tradition where every episode of my podcast I mention the fact that the Strat Hotel has flying rodents.
All right, I won't go there.
At least once, because I know what's good for my head. So.
Speaking of rodents, my mom visiting me in Tokyo, her first time in Japan, and we're walking along, and Tokyo is one of the cleanest cities on the face of the planet. With 38 million people, that's kind of mind-boggling.
Yes.
But we're walking along to this junky little sushi place that I love, conveyor belt sushi, and my mom goes, "Wow, it's so clean," and I'm like, "Yeah." As I see a rat the size of a Shih Tzu just go prancing across the road, this thing was thick, like 2 C's full cap. And
girl, Coco, is that you? Come
right?
here, girl.
And my mom is not a rat person, and she
is anyone a rat person?
I don't know, but I don't want to meet him. No. And she turns around as it scurries under like the flooring, kind of like to get into the sushi place, and she's like, "Was that?" I'm like, "A large dog? Yes. Let's keep walking."
Do you guys eat there still, or
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I ate there last time I was there, and I will continue to eat there.
As long as I guess it's not on the conveyor belt.
That's the thing.
Like I think it's a treadmill, it's all getting its gains in.
Right, running in the opposite direction, waiting for someone to order. Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad. Wow. Well, you've definitely traveled a lot. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So are those your favorites, you'd say?
Like favorite places?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mongolia is still an absolute trip.
Were you like kind of camping there? Like were you in the remote areas?
So I was based out of the city. It was the first trip my sister and I did, just her and I.
Nice.
My
brother and I did one cruise and it did not go well.
Yeah, our trip.
We shared a room. It's horrible.
My sister and I shared a room as well.
Oh.
We got really
Maybe you guys are better friends.
Yeah, there was like a 1 year delay for that.
We're 12 years apart and sharing a bathroom. Not great at our age.
No. Well, my sister was funny. I love my sister to death. She is not the deepest sleeper, and I had a habit of befriending everyone in the hostel. Now the hostel.
Picked up strays again.
Right, picked up strays. No blood this time.
Was there a rat? What happened?
Keep losing my water.
Oh.
Yep, right there.
Yeah. This is a very nice set. No rats.
But so.
Anytime my picture is up there, we're good. It's a safe place.
Right, it's a safe place.
It's a safe space for us. No rodents.
So my sister let me plan the trip.
Oh.
It's funny. I'm a planner in some ways, but it's all self-taught. I've got really bad ADD, but for some reason, when I'm doing production work, when I'm doing project management, when I'm building companies or running teams, I can focus like that. Travel, Andrew? No, not so much.
Not so much. You got a pre-plan.
I got a pre-plan. So I tried but I'm not a big planner. Like when I travel, I'm a firm believer, and this is like a travel tip for anyone who hasn't traveled much. I'm a firm believer that minimal planning is ideal because it allows for that adventure. Pick 1 or 2 things you want to do each day. Spend more time in one place instead of going from place to place.
It's exhausting when you're hopping around.
It's exhausting, and also you'll miss all the beautiful pieces. You'll be able to go, yeah, I found that sushi place in Tokyo where there's a Pomeranian-sized rat living underneath it. And
so gross.
The only reason I found that was I was lucky enough to live there for 3 years, but I was able to go explore and seek out those unique places.
Right.
If I've got 2 weeks in Europe, or in Mongolia, for example, my sister and I, we could have gone and camped places. We could have hopped from, the major city to some smaller cities, but we chose to plant ourselves there for 1 week, so that way we could fully experience everything it's got to offer and take time to wander. Now, what my sister wasn't planning on was me accidentally booking us a hostel in a Soviet-era building that looked like something.
Sounds beautiful.
It looked like something out of the Hunger Games, like where they lock up kids.
I feel like your take on accommodations is lacking. So maybe you plan like the day activities in the restaurants and not where everyone sleeps.
Now that's where I did great on the day
Because
activities.
just so far in this conversation, I'm like, nope, he does not get to pick the hotel ever.
No.
We work on a project together.
No, I actually got in a shouting match with the taxi driver who took
great.
us to the youth hostel.
Okay.
That was so loud we woke all the neighbors up. And then I realized later I was negotiating over 50 cents.
Oh, you thought it was $50.
No, I just did. I was like, it was like 500, whatever the currency is there, more. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And because I forgot what the calculation was. And we're like going back and forth. It's 2 a.m. My sister's exhausted.
What country was this in?
Mongolia.
Oh, you're brave.
And finally.
See, Italy, just use your hands a lot.
Right.
Throw some wine at them.
Throw some wine, throw some cheese.
Mongolia,
yeah.
Sherpa fight.
Exactly. So
Sherpa
thankfully we
fight.
got that worked out, and then my sister saw the inside of where we were staying, and I'm like, it's earthy, it's homey.
Earthy and homey. Is that
Yeah.
what you told her? Okay.
Yeah.
What did you mean by earthy, Andrew?
There's a lot of dirt in there, even though we were on the third story of a building.
Dirt on the floor?
Yeah, it just wasn't really clean.
Like you could see dirt?
Yeah, like in the corners.
I'm very much an indoor girl, so this is eye-opening.
But this is the perfect blend. It was like indoors meets outdoors.
That's a keep the shoes on kind of place.
Right? It's also a glass half full approach. But that trip is when we
the
got.
towels are like crunchy, or like it's like.
No,
these are 7
the
years
hot
old.
water didn't work.
Wow, yeah, of course.
Well, it's like.
What do you want? Rides in the sky?
It's like 20 degrees outside. I remember like, oh, hot shower at 2 a.m. and
None for you.
Nope, none.
Oh no.
But that trip was incredible. We ended up,
waking up early, I presume.
very early. But we made some great friends at the hostel there. We saw traditional Mongolia wrestling, which there's no age classification. And so you walk in and I literally see this 40-year-old man just hurl this 12-year-old across the stage.
I would love to hurl a 12-year-old.
Right?
Is that legal there?
Yeah, it's appreciated.
Sometimes they're so rude.
They are.
That age, 11 to 13.
But you know what? They bounce
smack
back.
around.
Because this kid rolled a couple times and he popped back up and ran right back at him, and the guy threw him again.
Wow.
But
we don't even discipline the kids in those countries. Like that, they just sign up for it.
that's what we need to do.
They're
We will
asking for
bring Mongolian wrestling to
the United
the
States.
U.S. We'll take that pencil and that swung
great.
to safe spaces and
See?
swing it the other
That's
way.
all we need, and then you'll stop seeing these kids fighting their teachers.
100%.
See? Well, that's very elevated there.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then we did.
I'm gonna go just to see.
It was wild. We were not expecting it. We walked in and
that,
like,
yeah. You're like, did you just hit that
we
kid?
stayed-
What's going on?
we stayed there for 2 hours because every time after somebody.
I would too. I'm
So
like,
picture,
shot.
exactly. Picture we had actually just come from an Irish pub, so we were all a little.
Thought you were hallucinating?
Yeah.
Is that a leprechaun?
Right? So picture a giant giant ring, almost like a
octagon?
circus ring. No, bigger, like
Oh,
picture a circus-sized ring.
okay.
Everyone's fighting individually. Everyone's got their own
So
wrestling
there's like
match.
multiple fights going on in this ring.
Like
So it's like a riot.
20,
Like a team, in a circle.
25 separate wrestling matches going on inside the ring.
I must go.
And,
That's amazing.
people hurling each other, and everyone's wearing these, basically, it looked like everyone was wearing Speedos.
Fantastic.
You're like, I'm about this.
This, I want to go to a sumo match just to see a fat man in a thong. So.
Now, here's the best part, though. When somebody would win a match, in tradition in Mongolia, like eagles and hawks, because they can fly through the sky, and also sometimes people will hunt with hawks.
Oh.
It's like they're kind of, I don't know exactly the lore behind it, but they hold significance.
Okay.
So you'd see somebody
It's like
hurl
their bird of strength.
something along those
Okay.
lines, and so when somebody would win a match, they'd start going like this.
Doing the.
And they,
That's a real thing.
it's a real thing.
Like
and
Mr. Miyagi.
Exactly, but they do that as they would almost fly.
Is it called they call it the crane though?
The crane, yeah. But they would do that over to the podium, and then they would wait there for their next match for whoever won the next fight.
Oh wow.
And we watched that for 2 hours.
I'd be there all day.
It was incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the Mongolian food.
Huh.
We went to a Mongolian black market where I was like, they call it a black market. It's basically where everyone buys all their goods. Not as sketchy as you would think. Actually, yeah, they had everything for sale.
Like Shih Tzus?
Huh?
Shih Tzus?
I would not be surprised.
No. Okay. I thought it was a rumor, but you very much.
And you were talking about, you kept asking questions about food. So here's a little plug: Mongolian fermented horse milk. I read about it, and I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be like a local drink. I almost said delicacy. I definitely don't think it was that. But Mongolians, because they're nomadic, so much of their food is dairy based.
Oh.
Because when you're constantly on the move and you're in a cold, frigid, borderline Siberian type wasteland, not all of Mongolia is like that, but some of it is.
The places you like to stay.
Exactly. The places, yeah.
You're on cold showers, dirt floors.
Starting a travel guide business. You want me to book your hotel? I guarantee you.
Who needs fromers? We've got
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm gonna find fermented horse milk, and everyone from the hostel's like, okay, whatever. Everyone wanders off. Well, I found it in a used Sprite bottle. It cost me like $3. It was one of the large Sprite bottles. So
I'm guessing that was not pasteurized.
No. It was very fermented though, because I brought it over. I gathered everyone up, and I'm like, I found the fermented horse milk. And
Let's hope that's
like,
what it was. They didn't just tell you that's what it was.
Right? Well, so I open it up, and it's like slightly carbonated, but kind of not.
Okay.
And the smell hits you. Picture milk gone bad, or like really sour yogurt.
Okay.
And it just, boom, smacked us all in the face. We're like, oh, this is disgusting. And I'm like, all right, who's drinking it first? And everyone's like, you idiot, you're drinking it first.
Yeah, you
so I
signed
take
us up for
a
this.
swig, and I'm trying to keep a straight face. It's filled with chunks.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
this
is great.
You're really selling on this trip.
Really sour. And I'm like, this is great.
Sour and chunky. Who doesn't love that?
2 other people out of a group of 8 tried it.
You need to open a frozen yogurt shop out there, and you will be a millionaire, because everyone will love you.
100%.
Because you're like, this is what it should taste like.
Yeah. Exactly. They'll be like, wait.
Not chunky, not bitter, not carbonated.
It doesn't come in a Sprite bottle? No. It comes
back
in
of someone's van, you're like, solid.
This is froyo. Yeah.
I want your digestive system. I can't handle like food that's sat out for more than an hour. Like, I'm OCD about it. So that's why I ask about the food. It's not that I'm like, I want to try all the things.
You're trying to figure out what to avoid.
I'm trying to figure out if I can survive for more than a day someplace, because I probably won't eat most of this.
Don't do Mongolia.
Okay.
Tokyo, Japan.
I'm just gonna go to Italy.
You'll be fine. Italy, you will definitely be fine.
Just go to Italy. Just go to Italy. Solid. Okay. And I might go to Turkey for the coffee.
Yes.
Have you been to Prague yet?
No, I have not.
That's on my list. It looks beautiful.
That's on my list
Instagram
too.
is very solid. But actually, another friend of mine said she had gone, and for some reason it was mildly depressing. I don't know why. We'll have to look into that.
Huh.
You'll probably go there before I will. I wanna know where not to go. So you go, and then you let me know what your floors and showers were like.
Well, just don't go wherever I go. That's the thing. You can go to the same. You can go to the same place. Just don't go to any. A hotel recommendation for me means, okay, I've grown. I have grown. Okay. Andrew, over the past few years, has found the perfect combination of affordable but also like livable.
Yes.
I've never been one for big fancy hotels. I would rather save all that money and spend it on the experiences there. But thankfully, as I've gotten older and have saved up a little bit more, my hotel quality has definitely increased.
Yes, I hear you on that. I'm actually going to be in Vegas this weekend, and I'm performing at Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club on Saturday at the Link, and I'm deciding, do I want to stay at the Link? Because right down the road is the Wynn. I'm just putting that out there. It's just conveniently located, just right down the boulevard, so.
What are the chances?
Yeah, and I know that it's really hit or miss in Vegas. You gotta be very careful.
Yeah.
And like the last trip we took, we had to stay at the Strat because I was doing the World Series of Comedy, and 8 days in any hotel is a long time, but a 3-star accommodation, it felt longer. It felt like I was drinking fermented horse piss, whatever you had. You said milk.
I'm still not sure.
We're gonna call it milk, but
no, yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I feel you. Nice. One thing I wanted to talk to you about beyond the travels, we went on that tangent forever, but it's so interesting, is you work on the production side of things in entertainment.
I do.
So what are some of the biggest film projects you've worked on?
I would say, let's see, the biggest film projects I've worked on in a production aspect, working on the production team, was I got very lucky and one of the biggest projects I've worked on was actually my first film that I worked on called The Engagement Plan.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think I've watched that movie.
Yeah, a really fun rom-com.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And it was really neat. That was my first time on set in the production department.
That's so neat.
And it was wonderful.
What did you do for the movie?
So I was the assistant production coordinator,
Okay.
Basically helping with logistics, helping make sure everything was where it needed to be.
Like what you did for my show today.
Exactly.
It's not a coincidence. I had you as my first guest at my new studio.
Right.
Make sure everything is plugged in and set up.
You looked at my resume and you were like, fitting.
Solid first start.
Yeah. But no, it was wonderful. So everything from helping run down different trailers for the cast to making sure catering was squared away.
Okay.
Basically helping keep the city that is a movie production running.
I forgot to bring your bowl of green M&Ms. I know that was on your list for the.
It's changed. It changes every week. Now it's red M&Ms.
So
I'm
it would
sorry,
have
I
been
gotta leave. No, I can't.
Swing and
do
a
this.
miss. Okay. All right. Yeah. Picky.
So the engagement plan, and then the next largest film I worked on was called Mr. Manhattan. Now that hasn't been released yet. That was
Very
really
cool.
fun.
What's that about? Are you allowed to say what it's about?
Yeah. So actually, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what it's about, but high level, a guy grows up in a small American town, ends up moving to the big city, and something happens where he ends up
Becoming the president?
not quite.
Okay.
Taking care of some other family members, and it brings him in an old
So it's not a political thriller.
No.
Okay.
No. And it brings him and an old flame together.
Oh, okay.
And he's kind of got his life in New York, Manhattan.
Cool.
And she has her life going on, but he's kind of missing the small town vibes, but also really caught up in the fast-paced life of the big city. And long story short, they end up together and they end up taking care of that family together.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. Which was it in some of the iconic settings? Like, did you do Rockefeller Center, Central Park? Did you do?
So it was funny. We filmed a majority of the film over in Kentucky.
Oh.
Tax credits,
that
baby.
makes me sad.
Yeah, no, it was really. But they did do 3 days of filming in New York. Now I was production coordinator on this project. So I was wrapping out Kentucky while supporting the team.
I remember you saying you went to Kentucky and I didn't know why.
Yeah.
For Mr. Manhattan, of course.
Right, of
Where
course.
else would you be?
Mr. Louisville? No. That's the sequel.
Right? Oh gosh. It's like, yeah, anytime we film here, it's like, we're on Mars. No, you're not. You're in Phoenix.
But kind of a skeleton crew went over to New York to do some filming in
to get the setting shots. Is that what they do?
Yeah, some setting shots, but some actual like performance shots as well. So Central Park.
Sure.
There was a shot on Wall Street.
Yes.
But like some of the core pieces that make the movie, Mr. Manhattan.
Right.
One thing that's incredible, and a shout out to our art department, they built a sound stage. They built a Manhattan apartment inside of a sound stage in the middle of Kentucky.
Wow.
In a couple weeks, and it was beautiful.
That's so cool.
In fact, I took some videos of it and posted on Instagram in a reel, and people were like, wait, that's how it's done? Because it showed the outside. You see this box, and you walk inside, and it's like you're transported to New York.
That's so neat.
Huge shout out to Jerry and Mel and the rest of the art team. They did a fantastic job.
I'll have to check that out. That's so neat. Well, I've been on some sets, and then of course, if you're like for a tourist attraction, they have the Universal Studios backlot.
Yeah.
So you can see like some of the facades that they've used of houses and things, like from what's the one with Alfred Hitchcock? Was it?
Birds. No.
That and also what was the one? Psycho? What they call it?
Psycho. I think that's it.
Psycho?
It's funny.
I feel so bad that I just blanked on that, but
I work in movie production and my film knowledge is terrible.
I'm terrible with names. Yes, but that's we like stab in the shower like.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll go with Psycho.
Any
thoughts?
Sound guy? He doesn't know anything. See, it's an old one. No, but it's just really neat. And then with these sets that they make, I always wondered, like, are they able to sell them off afterwards so people can maybe incorporate that into part of a house build out or something? I think that'd be kind of neat.
That is a great question. So, like on this last project on Mr. Manhattan, the last movie project, they took the set, they tore it down, but they gave a lot of the pieces to the owner of the soundstage. So we were filming at a school called Asbury.
Okay.
They've got an incredible film program over there, and our production assistants, a lot of them were from the school, but we gave some of the pieces from the set to them, and then the rest of it, we just stripped down and threw away. Sometimes they can be repurposed, but it also depends on the scenario. Like, is there somebody nearby who can make quick use of it? Because often it's build it up and then wrap it out really quick. So teardown's obviously a lot quicker than building it, but also we're trying to clear out as fast as possible, because that's the one thing that's incredible that I don't think a lot of people realize about a movie production is you're gathering people from all walks of life. You're essentially building, I call it like a company town. Back in the day, you know, when people would open up mines, they'd build a company town and everyone would move there to work at the mine. What's crazy about a movie production is people from all walks of life who often view life in very different views all have to come together, you know, descend on one location, work together to make a creative vision come true, and then wrap it out, because there's a deadline, because you've got the shot list, you've got you know, you only have so many days that you're filming, you can only lock down certain locations for a certain amount of times, and you got to make it all work then. And I think a lot of people, even myself, after having started working in movie production, I look at films and I go, this is a beautiful film, I wonder what was going on outside the camera, because every single piece of the team is vital. Production assistants, they do not get enough love. In fact, I feel like production assistants are often noticed when things are going wrong. But the funny part is when things are going smoothly, that means you have an incredible team of production assistants.
It's a lot.
Every piece of the team matters, and if you're missing one, you know, building block, you'll topple over.
And things run behind. Like, I've been an extra on some TV shows on BET when I lived in Atlanta for a while. And then I was in a movie called Angel Mountain, and it was a period piece, which was so neat. As I think it was like 1947 was the year or something like that, and it's like going back in time, and it was super cool. And I was there for one scene, and we were there for like 5 hours. It is so much to put into the set and the costumes and everything, but it feels like you're going back in time. Have you ever worked on a project that was during a different time period yet? Have you done that?
No period pieces
Oh,
yet.
I think you'd absolutely love it. No matter what the project is, I know you're so talented, and I think you'd be picky on what you select, but I would definitely do it just for the experience, because it's so much fun. Because it feels like you're going in a time machine.
And you have to pay attention to every single detail, because if you're in a scene and, you know, at Game of Thrones, you got a Starbucks cup sitting somewhere.
They had a problem with me, because I was supposed to be like a 1940s like farmer looking person, and I showed up like 1940s New York. So I had the big lashes, and that's just my
glamour.
look. And they didn't want glam, so they put me in these horn-rimmed glasses to hide my lashes, and my hair back in
magic.
Yes, because I had hair like this, and they're like, nope, so they had to put my hair in like a bun and these glasses. I'm like, cool, I look 60 now. Like, like, no, we don't need the bright red lipstick for the party, lady.
We want you to look 60.
Yes, that's what they did, and so it's a good point. That's why, because it would have just really stood out. And I wasn't one of the main people anyway, and it's like I'm supposed to be just blend in the background.
And even things as specific as like the button type. I know I've heard of some period pieces where it's like, where in the reviews somebody who has a ton of knowledge around the historical era will go, that's not quite accurate. I've got some friends who have worked in like different aspects of the military, and they'll watch movies where it's like,
wrong patch or whatever.
Wrong patch, wrong gun.
And like military stuff too, you have to be so careful, because that can be rather insulting. And inflammatory also. And then there have been some weird ones with China. They don't want any mention of Taiwan in movies. And for some reason they are super involved with our American entertainment industry. I don't know why that is, and it's probably verboten, but this is my show, so I can say what I want. But I've heard of them like banning movies if you include mention of Taiwan, or like there have been people that like John Cena apologizing to China. It's like relax.
Now, one of the most interesting debates I ever saw was between a girl who was raised on mainland China and a girl raised in Taipei, capital of Taiwan. And the conversation, they were both super civil. I was in Taipei when it was taking place, but they were super civil. But the differences between what they were taught about Taiwan and China's relationship to each other, because China views Taiwan as a runaway region. They're like, yeah, we still own you. We've always owned you. Taiwan views themselves as independent. And so anything that would paint Taiwan as being independent or powerful or standalone at all, China's not a big fan.
Yeah, I bet. So interesting. Why are they so involved in our entertainment industry? Do you know anything? Can you speak to that at all?
I have theories.
Is it funding?
So
okay.
That's part of it. China's got it's the second biggest country in the world.
Sure.
And a lot of the people who are able to venture outside of China and do business have a lot of money. And one of the
You mean the ones they let go to do business outside of the
now a lot of China exactly, but that's the thing.
I'm super inflammatory, but again, my show.
Well, a lot of China. Here's the thing,
Lord,
though.
thanks.
They still have connections to the government. That's the thing. And so I have a theory, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I believe, and here's a little conspiracy theory, but
I love conspiracy theories.
There's some validity to it, because I think that one of the easiest ways, the reason I ended up in entertainment is I wanted to make a positive impact on the world. And I had just kind of left startup life. The company I was working for got acquired by Sony.
Very cool.
Sony was wonderful, but I'm very much a lot of my skill set is in growing. And when Sony acquired us, it became a little bit more corporate, a little bit more bureaucratic.
Less opportunity for growth.
A different type of opportunity for growth, because Sony is just an incredible company. Sony Pictures Entertainment. They know what they're doing. They've got their act together, and they want to grow businesses, and they want to put out good content. But I was looking for more of a startup vibe.
Okay.
But when I left, I was going, okay, I'm either going to go into entertainment. I want to impact lives. Entertainment or politics. And then I thought about it for 5 seconds and went, yep, entertainment. But
ultimately, it's another arm of politics. It's used in a different way.
It is. And so that, circling back, is where I've got the theory about China. I think part of the reason they're so invested in entertainment is sway perception. China's been looked at as like...
But that was my point. That's why I brought it up.
Right?
I already knew that.
You knew that.
Oh, totally.
They've been looked at as... I forget what they call it, like the crouching tiger. They had there was some fancy name for it. But one of the easiest ways to sway public opinion is through what you're consuming, on your phones, at TikTok, what you're consuming on the television. And if you're putting up the money for different movies, congrats. That's, you have a lot of say in what that final product is.
I had heard that they also were a big funder for our mainstream media, as well as our pharmaceutical companies funding mainstream media. So that's why it's hard not to have biased information. So I actually will err on the side of watching the news from other countries. Out of India quite a bit. I'll watch Australian news a little bit more, and they will show stuff that they do not show here. They censor quite a bit here. And we have our own spin on things, and I'm sure all countries do that so that it's more favorable. It's like every if you go to any country, I'm sure you look at the world map and their country's going to be the biggest. You know what I mean?
They're going to be right in the center.
Right in the center and the biggest, right?
That's where I think the creation and takeover, I say creation, but more so the current era of X, formerly known as Twitter, I think that is a beautiful news source. And I know a lot of people have issues with X, but look, it's the news that comes out and you have to be careful because it's social media. I can go post whatever I want and it can be incorrect. But that being said, you see something start trending on Twitter about some sort of event happening, whether it's, this celebrity did this, or oh my gosh, a volcano went off here, or in some sad scenarios, there's a shooting. It pops off on X before news stations can capture it. And I think we're in this era of where a lot of talented journalists who truly do want to do journalism work and share the news of what's going on and don't want to be sold out to large media corporations
telling them what they can say and what they can show.
Exactly. Yes. I think we're in this beautiful era of user-generated content.
Right.
And I know people use that a lot to highlight YouTube videos and I'm making cooking videos, but it can also be used in relation to news, and it can be used in relation to comedy, and it's just we're stepping into this era. We've stepped into, and we're continuing to evolve in this era of, look, you, me, our sound guy, all of us, we can go and create, and so it's really neat, and it's really, our access to information and content is easier than ever.
Absolutely, and I like to keep it light on the show, but I will say this: having seen the footage from the locals in Maui led me to believe that there were nefarious reasons for the fires that were not natural. And that's why I did the fundraiser comedy show that I did, and I donated to Maui Strong and Gross. We for a little local show, we accumulated over $1,000 for them.
Wow.
It could have been a lot more, but it was like a local room, and I did a comedy luau thing. But the whole reason I did it, I started to see what people were posting on TikTok, and I got angry, and it really led me to believe that it was intentional, especially the management afterwards, and that's what the locals were sharing. Like, hey, people are donating to Red Cross, they're not letting us have any of it.
Yeah.
Like, they're saying, no, that's not for you, and like they're pooling resources. And then also some of the people that were like the head of the fire department and the disaster team conveniently were not on the island, or were on the other side, something like that, where they checked in a hotel the day before out of the area. Just weird things. So anyway, the point of that was that I saw all this on TikTok, and it was very uncensored, so you don't know how much is true, but again, they're showing you
but if you
live feeds.
If you pull the information you've got and you're seeing a trend, likely chance that it's accurate.
I saw about 40 or 50 different people saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And I got mad, and I'm like, wow. And I know that there's a lot going on in the world right now, and they're not the top of the list anymore because there's constantly, unfortunately, things unfolding. But I do think that it's worth paying attention, because that's our own citizens.
It is.
That's kind of scary.
And it's scary, but it's so neat that we have tools now where we can have that transparency, especially in times of crisis, especially in times of need, and And then also on the brighter side of things, especially in times of creativity,
and inspiration, and making people happy.
100%, because if you think of a great routine, and you want to test it out, and it's like, well, my next show is Friday, you can throw that sucker up on TikTok and get live feedback.
That's a good idea. I've never done that.
Yeah.
So I was going to go to the retirement community, but then I have to talk a lot louder and repeat myself more. I'm just kidding.
Right?
That's so mean.
And you can't tell if people aren't laughing. You can't tell if people aren't laughing because
they don't know who they are, where they are.
Or they're dead.
Could have been much. Well, that was way worse than anything.
Right? They're sitting there, and you're like, I put them to sleep, and you're like, no, you stopped their heart.
Oh, it's horrible.
Right? Well,
actually, a killer.
Is that?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, maybe that's actually a good ratio of all right, well, we had 5 seniors, head upstairs because they were laughing so hard.
Oh no. Oh, so my show has to come with a warning now.
Right.
Did you ever see that? We're approaching the season. I'm sure you've seen Bill Murray movie called Scrooged. Have you seen that one?
No, I actually haven't.
Oh, it's great. You have to check it out. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies, and it's because it's essentially like a retelling of A Christmas Carol, but he is the head of a major network. And and the reason I thought of it just now is they did this preview, and they made a Christmas movie scary, and like people were having heart attacks from the preview, and he's like, I love it. He's like, that's what we want.
I love it. That's real customer engagement.
Yes, yeah, it was that kind of vibe. Before he learned the meaning of life and the meaning of Christmas, it was that kind of vibe. So back to what you've worked on, are there any people that you've really enjoyed working with? Like any celebrities we might know, or who would you
So
mention?
I worked with the Pennavegas. So Carlos Penavega, he is one of the oh my gosh, he's one of the singers of Big Time Rush.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which is a huge Nickelodeon boy band,
Yes.
and they've really, I say boy band, they're all grown up now. But
It's a
man band. That's right. A Nickelodeon man band. Nick at Night.
It's creepier that way. I guess you gotta say boy band.
Exactly.
Got it.
And he was from Big Time Rush, and his wife was his co-star, Alexa. Alexa was Carmen in Spy Kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they were both wonderful.
Nice people.
Nice people.
Okay.
Very professional, but like the moment the camera was done rolling, you could tell they were professional, but they knew how to have fun.
Oh.
It was really sweet. They had their whole
Nice.
family there. Yeah, and when I say whole family, I mean they had their kids there, like not on set, but like in Kentucky with them, and they were
Cool.
absolutely wonderful.
Nice people.
Yeah.
I like hearing that because sometimes people get well known and then they're not so nice.
Exactly, and they've both had a lot of success.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess
They're still humble.
My guess is if I met them 10 years ago, they would have been the exact same person.
Sure.
Just humble, kind, always looking to brighten someone's day, and very good at what they do.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
I talked to you about this once before, but you have not been to the Sundance Film Festival, correct?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Well, Park City's cool. It's a little mountain town in Utah, and it's fun if you like to snowboard. Go for that. Great dining because they'll have culinary experts from around the world in these little restaurants. So they treat it very much like Vegas, like the nice hotels have.
Yeah.
Like their sous chefs and everything. Same thing. Also, it's a very tiny town, and so I met more celebrities in Park City than I did living in Southern California for like 20 years cumulatively, because they're just behind you in line in Starbucks kind of thing.
That's wild.
Yeah, like Matt Damon, Casey Affleck, the list goes on. They're very nice. There were a few that were not so nice, Mariah Carey, but
all right, not to name drop.
Not to name drop, but Mariah Carey.
Did I tell you I met Bo Derek?
No. Did she have the braids in?
No, but
Excellent.
that was the thing.
That's good news.
I was looking at her and I'm like, I know you from somewhere. I was at a red carpet.
Girl, do this with your hair real quick.
Exactly. I was at a red carpet in LA.
Cool.
And her husband, I forget his last name. First name is John. He had just been in the film that it was red carpet for, and I'm looking and I'm like, where do I recognize you from? Now Baywatch, like outside of my era, really. But that being said,
Wasn't she in the movie 10 with Dudley Moore?
Maybe.
Bo Derek?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she was like a 70s film star.
Yeah, exactly. But and so like
I'm not that old.
I had seen the cornrows picture, but it wasn't clicking, and I'm looking at
But
her.
it looked like Baywatch. I get why you think that. Yeah.
And okay, so she wasn't in Baywatch.
It was like a beach scene thing.
Yeah.
Where she has like braids.
Okay, that makes so much sense.
Because she's
earlier
like a swimsuit like that. Yes.
Earlier today, I was like, I'm pretty sure that was Bo Derek who had the cornrows.
Yes.
And I looked it up.
It's a bold look for a white woman.
It is. That is, that's either honeymoon in Mexico or just like I'm confident in myself and you're not gonna tell me what to do.
That's 4 shots of tequila in.
Exactly.
Yes. That's like I'm in Cozumel, braid it.
But I'm standing there looking at her and I'm like, I think she caught my eye. I'm like wondering if she's staring at, or she's probably going, why is this kid staring at me? And I'm just the whole time I'm like,
do you squinch your face like that?
Yeah, I was like, did you have? In my head, I'm like, did you have cornrows?
You didn't ask?
No.
So I would have asked.
Because finally, a friend I knew at the red carpet event, I was like, who is that? And he's like, oh, it's Bo Derek. And I'm like, oh! And so later on, I shook her hand, talked to her.
It could have been my math teacher, it could be a celebrity. I don't know. I know you.
My math teacher never had cornrows.
Would have been distracting.
Exactly.
That's so funny.
Randy Krieger would never have had cornrows.
Maybe the art teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's funny.
Yeah.
So what are your plans? Like you are working on so many things. You're always doing new things, exciting things. Are you wanting to one day have your own production company? Or are you wanting to star in more films? Because I know you're dabbling with acting, getting into that too.
So it was funny. My life has accidentally been chopped up into periods of 3 years.
Okay.
I spent a little over 3 years in Japan. a little over 3 years working for Pureflix / Sony. And then the past 3 years, I have been trying everything in entertainment. I've been doing production work, I've done writing, I've done script review, I've done a little bit on the back end of the finance piece of movie production. I've done.
So you're a good guy to know, in other words.
I understand how it works, and honestly, I want to thank everyone I worked with at Pureflix because so Pureflix is a Christian faith and family video streaming service.
Oh, nice.
And when I worked there, I was working for the streaming service arm, but they had a production arm at that time.
Okay.
And there were so many wise people. One name that comes to mind is Greg Budorf, who worked with the streaming service. He and countless others, Debbie Stackis, Brian Pankaric, Michael Scott, they all took time to share knowledge about how the industry works. And when I say the industry, I'm Linda Blasey. Oh my gosh.
Because there's a social component to the club.
There is.
And I'm sure it's a little tough if you're not in that club.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing.
And it's funny because not only, like, these people just shared so much knowledge with me. You know, this kid who had never worked for in entertainment before. Now streaming is a little bit more on the business side, but it's still in the entertainment industry. And so I took a lot of that knowledge, and over the past 3 years after I left Sony, I tried all those different pieces that I had shared before. I've done a couple podcasts, and I'm a firm believer that you need to give everything 110%. And if something isn't working out the way you want it to, you don't just drop it. You find a way to pivot, and you find a way to go, okay, here's all the good stuff I've gleaned. How can I grow this into something bigger and better? And so I am approaching, January will be 3 years since I left Sony, since my time in LA, I lived in LA for a bit, those 3 years.
The fact that you survived LA, it's just
right?
Yeah.
Right, my new car that I got when I moved there, not the same scenario. Literally, I had it for like a month, and somebody tagged me like really bad.
I'm starting to think it's you. Like, we've got the Vespa scooter, we've got the new car.
I had a friend say that. I remember we got back from Malibu. We got back from Malibu Beach, and he goes, I'm like, oh, someone tagged me, and he's looking at it, and he's like, are you sure you didn't do that yourself? I'm like, it's rear panel, like someone scratched it. Like, it looks like somebody backed out sharp. And he's like, I know, but are you sure you didn't do that yourself? And so I'm still chalking it up to someone else at me.
I have peace at night knowing that it wasn't me damaging my own brand new car, right?
Exactly.
That kind of thing, yeah.
But
I've been there.
Everything I've learned from the past 3 years, I'll be at the 3-year period in January. And over the past month, I've really taken some time to sit and think about what's next. I love entertainment. I love movie production. I love creating. And I've had a couple really valuable people in my life. Everyone's valuable, but some people really poured into my life, encouraged me to start a production company in Arizona, since I'm currently based out of Arizona, even though I fly out for all my projects.
Sure.
Especially since we got those tax incentives. I actually had somebody pitch me on the idea of a podcast where I talk to different people who have adventured around the world, everything from scientists to explorers, like picture Jane Goodall, picture Bear Grylls, like that vein of people. I had somebody pitch me this morning.
Did you do something like National Geographic kind of thing, but the travel component?
Yep.
Cool.
Start that, come alongside, and like down the road sell it off to National Geographic or partner with them, and they were talking to me to be a host for it, so that's really exciting.
The movies you've been making, have they been primarily Pureflix kind of?
Yeah, I joke around that, like, of all the types of movies I've ended up in, they've all been like rom-com style, which is funny, but which is really nice because it's super lighthearted.
It's just nice to have normal things. Like, I also do enjoy some of the content from the Daily Wire. They don't have, it's kind of a different vibe than I'd say probably Pureflix, but it's kind of like entertainment without the propaganda, and it's hard to explain, but we've become so used to these things embedded in our
We've gotten
entertainment.
so used to saying, oh, that's just how it is.
That's how it is, and then you watch something that doesn't have some sort of underlying motive, and it's very refreshing. Like, I watched a tornado movie with Anne Heche.
Yeah.
This-
Sharknado? No.
It was that bad, but they weren't trying to be that bad. And it had like
That
weird
bad, but-
political undertones. Like, it's a tornado, it's a disaster movie.
Mm.
And we had like they brought abortion into it, race into it, gay marriage into it. It's like there's a tornado. Can we just stick with the tornado? Like, I don't. That's fine. Each their own. But why do we need to have that in a tornado film? It was very bizarre. It didn't fit the movie. It felt very forced and odd. That's why I give that example. It just felt like very propaganda based, and it kind of diminished. Like, I liked Twister. I want to see some flying cows. Like, where are the flying cows? Like, it did not
where's
have
a
that.
cow and an ice cream truck going around?
Yeah, like, just because I like disaster flicks. Like, I was all excited. I'm like, what is going on? This is kind of a downer. Like, it just felt like a weird, awkward therapy session you didn't ask for.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's, you summed it up, a weird, awkward therapy session you didn't ask for.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's not cookie cutter. Like,
Right.
not everyone agrees with some of the ideas that are presented, which I have no problem with people presenting ideas that make people think.
Sure.
But it's the propaganda aspect, and
It just didn't fit. It was a weird. They shoved it
it's
into a movie that
forced.
made no sense. It was very forced. Yeah.
And I am really big on storytelling.
Yeah.
Not telling a narrative, just storytelling. I don't have. I've got my own personal beliefs about various hot topics.
Sure.
As everyone does, but
Yeah.
I'm really big on just telling a good story.
Now, do you want to do like sci-fi kind of stuff, or
So
what kind of stories do you think you want to get into?
I have a really big heart, oddly enough, for documentary docuseries work.
Okay. So like Blackfish, so we can like close down SeaWorld.
Exactly. We'll pick another one. Let's pick the San Diego Zoo. Let's close that down next.
Yeah, right. I get to keep the sloths.
Right?
Yeah.
No, but I've got a big heart for documentaries. But I've also there's a project that I've been looking over, deciding whether or not it's something I want to take on. It would be my first movie where I would be a producer on. I say first movie, because I've produced little projects left and right, and I say little, I've been really lucky to work on some really neat ones, but it would be the first movie I would be working on, and it's talking about how speaking of hot topics, artificial intelligence, and it's
Glad you brought that up.
artificial intelligence, how it can complement creativity when done correctly, because there is a way where it pulls away from creativity. I think that's evident by the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild going on strike with some really valid concerns.
Yes, but if you use it as a tool.
If you use it as a tool, I think it can allow for more focus on some of the creative pieces, and it can take away some of the legwork.
Sure.
I say legwork is in some of the pieces that might not be as creative. And it's really great, I think, a great tool for independent creators who are trying to create their own content, whether it's for YouTube. There's a streaming service out actually called Nebula. Picture A24 production style. They look, and a lot of their content, actually all their content is like user generated content. So it's the type of stuff that will be posted on Nebula, and then a couple weeks later it'll end up on YouTube.
Okay.
But for those independent creators, people who are early on in their filmmaking career, in their content creation, I think artificial intelligence allows them to have more opportunities down the road because it can help with editing. It can help with a rough edit.
It's great for the tool component. I think
it's great for the tool component.
One of my good family friends is a cameraman, and he does everything from like the Dr. Phil show to interviewing Mariah Carey. Like, I won't say who he is, but he's lovely. I've stayed in his house, and he explained to me the strike and what was going on. And essentially, it's not AI in general using it as a tool. It's that they don't have limits to how it's used. So, for example, I'm someone that's done bit parts in movies and extra work. Okay, so with the AI, the way that it's set up now, it can be that, and then they can use my image and replicate it and then not pay me. So, and it doesn't pay you much to be an extra in something. And then what can happen is they can use my image, make me thinner, give me dark hair and brown eyes, and then just replicate that endlessly and then use that. And it's my face.
It takes the human element out of it.
It does, and then, and if anyone's going to enjoy looking better as Lauren, it should be me. And I should get paid for it.
Right? It should be you, and you should get money for it.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the future with artificial intelligence it's here. It's going to affect things going forward. I think you have to learn to adopt it, whether or not you like it, because if you don't adopt it, you will not be able to keep up.
Yeah, well, it's simple with contracts. All you have to do is add in the caveat in there that you're not allowed to replicate my image.
Exactly.
That's easy enough.
And then you need to have like lawyers, of course, look over it to make sure that there are no type of loopholes. But
or like beyond that project, like I don't mind if they have to change the my image for
take off those lashes because they're not timed.
Exactly. Yeah, I wanted to do the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, but they wanted to cut my hair off. We're not doing that.
Yeah, no, thank you. But if you
Favorite
can,
show,
if you can AI it off, then
that
perfect.
would have been fine. I would have signed up for that.
But yeah, the future for me is, I've got a bunch of different projects, but there's one that I can't share that I have been working on for 4 years.
Can you hint about it?
I can. It's a reality show.
Okay.
And it's funny because I was always like, oh, I'll never do reality. It's a reality show, and I'm still back and forth on whether or not to gamify it and make it like a competition type show.
Okay.
But picture a show that brings people from all different, either sending people out from the U.S. to a different country, or bringing people from different countries to the U.S. To experience a culture that they have no clue how to navigate.
It's amazing, like wife swap but continent swap.
And literally,
I love it. I love it.
Totally along that vein. And
accidentally do it in Tuscany. I'll be there.
Perfect. You can be one of the stars.
Mongolia.
But I can't share all the details,
of course,
because
your negotiations,
and there's a like somebody else could snake it from you.
Absolutely.
Especially, and I'm so surprised no one's done it yet. And I've heard that sentence multiple times, and sometimes there's a reason no one's done it yet. But I think this would
red tape. It's
this would give people an opportunity to kind of experience being in uncomfortable travel situations and seeing the world, and they're either going, deep down, oh, I could do that, and like, this is fun. Or they're going, I never want to do that, and thankfully they're doing it for me and I get to watch it from home.
I think it's amazing. That's why I was asking some of those questions. I mean, I've only been to a handful of places, and I wanted the highlights, like what's the sleeping situation, and am I going to be able to eat for a week, because I might starve if I have to eat crickets or something.
And that's one of the most fun parts is the food.
I can use a little weight loss, but not with the bugs. I'm not going to do crickets.
So the future's got a couple different projects, but I also really have a heart in podcasting, and so
awesome. Well, I'm glad you were on mine today. Thank you for being
here. I feel honored
here.
for being here. Thank you for having me on.
And also, again, share with our listeners, in case they tuned in late, where they can follow you on your social media, like your Instagram.
You guys can follow me at Andrew Ameduri on Instagram. That last part is spelled A, M as in Mary, E-D-U-R-I. And then you can check out my current business podcast around business building called Founder Focus. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, it's there. And I also do storytelling strategies. So if you've got a story, if you've got a business, personal brand, stand-up comedy, and you're looking for a way to take that story, package it up, and share it with an audience to change lives and accomplish whatever your goal is, shoot me a DM. I'm here for it.
I just thought of this while we're on the air right now. There's a book idea that I've had for about 12 years. I'm going to be writing a book, and I'd like to make it into a rom-com movie.
Let's do it.
And you're going to be the guy, if you're up for it and you're available.
I'm down for it. Let's get it done.
I think that'd be very cool. I think it'd be really, really cool to work together on a project.
Totally.
So you're gonna be the guy. I just decided. I put it out in the universe.
All right. You know what? You put it out, and it was accepted.
Thank you for being on the show tonight. We didn't have our clock running, so I have no idea how long we've been talking, but it feels like a long time. But you and I can talk for hours. So
exactly.
I know.
Yep.
But I'm gonna do the Oprah Winfrey handshake. Oh, thanks for being on the show.
My gosh,
thanks for being on the show.
You get a car. You get a car.
I need a car. I always want a new car.
I get a car. I'll ding up the back.
You dig up the car.
Right.
Well, thanks for being here, tuning in, guys. This has been the Laura and Rachel Talk Show with Andrew Ameduri. Thanks for being here, Andrew.
Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye. I'm going to take my cheat sheet. I was supposed to do index cards, but you got the whole comedy notebook. You're in the
I feel
my
fancy.
comedy Bible.
All right. What was our runtime?
An hour and 18 minutes.
Oh, okay. So I called it early.
All right.
Good. Or late, actually, so I'm glad. I had a feeling. I was like, it feels like we've been talking for an hour.
Yeah.
I was gonna give you a warning, but you guys are having such a good conversation.
Thank you. I kept looking at you. I was like, he's cracking his knuckles. Is it an hour yet?